The Ormoc Sea tragedy calls for answers why it happened and what must be done to prevent another mishap at sea to prevent the loss of life. Tonight we are joined by phone patch Transportation Secretary Joseph Emilio Abaya, who was in Ormoc City today to conduct an on-site inspection of the tragic incident which led to the capsizing of the MV Nirvana. Good evening, sir. Welcome to NewsLife.
Hi, good evening, Robert. Good evening,
Sir, President Aquino ordered a probe of the tragic incident in Ormoc City with the capsizing of the MV Nirvana. Now, based on your inspection on the ground, what was the initial report submitted to you?
Well, so far, no initial report yet, and it was difficult also for me to comment because I might preempt the investigation. But it was clear that by this evening, the fully accounted for all passengers. There are around 40, I think we're still waiting for the final report of Coast Guard, but you have 141 survivors. Around 45 or 49 would be casualty with zero unaccounted for.
Now, sir, there's been an inspection of the MV Nirvana to determine if there was no overloading of passengers and cargo. What was done after that?
Well, there was initially, as manifested, there were 173 passengers on manifest. The capacity of the motorbanca is 178. So based on manifest, it is not overloaded. Although the other question would now be how many were actually on board. I think that is what Coast Guard is trying to determine now, because it's only then that you could find out if the manifested were same as the actual passengers.
Now, sir, after every tragedy at sea, investigations are always done. But what do you think is the best strategy to actually prevent more mishaps in the future?
I think we have, I think really key here, because we've gone a long way in ensuring or increasing our maritime safety record, and of late we haven't had any disasters among the bigger vessels. I think primarily because of our strict adherence to the policy that there would be no sailing once a typhoon signal is up. I think that is a good policy, though a lot of people are complaining, but better to err on the safety side rather than the convenience side. What is a challenge now is to bring this standard to motorbancas or smaller vessels, because these are more operated by patrons, your major patrons and minor patrons. So much more challenging because they're more widespread. There are more of them. Some of them actually need to be educated and capacitated on why safety rules should be followed. So we're slowly bringing it down to that level.
Now, sir, how often does Marina conduct inspections of all passenger ships, and especially the bancas, the smaller bancas that ply the sea? How strict are we now in terms of securing the safety of the passengers in the smaller bancas?
Well, every time they set sail, Marina and Coast Guard has to inspect the vessel to ensure there's no that life-saving equipment are complete, and that the captain is ready to sail his vessel. I think annually this is inspected. Our bigger vessels are dry docked every 3 years. So these are clear regulations. I think the continuing challenges is to ensure implementation, but again, we're slowly putting in reforms, and I think record should show we're increasing safety, improving safety record. However, again, the challenge is when we bring it down to the motorbank. But I think most of our accidents maybe will be more the motorbank level.
Sir, Congressman Jesulito Manalo is pushing the Naval Architecture Bill in the House. Now, he said this will greatly contribute to the modernization of our shipping industry. Do you think that this will enhance more seaworthy ships built in the country, even those smaller ships like the bancas plying inter-island?
Well, I'm sure it will further institutionalize and professionalize the profession of naval architecture. Honestly, I have not read the bill, but any bill that focuses on professionalization, especially in naval, considering we are an archipelagic state, I'm surely that would eventually help the industry and likewise improve our safety record.
And so finally, what are the next steps in terms of the investigation of the MV Nirvana on why it actually capsized? And also, what are the next steps to ensure that next time stricter rules and regulations will be implemented for the smaller bangkas?
Coast Guard has already deployed their maritime casualty investigating team. They were there this morning. The role of that team is to find out the cause of the accident and what steps should be to ensure a non-repetition of such. From there, we should then find out liability and accountability, and clearly given instructions that it should be checked whether the owner, the captain, the crew, and even the Philippine Coast Guard personnel themselves, they are indeed liable for certain shortcomings or violations. But looking forward, Marina is slowly focusing its efforts on domestic shipping safety. It is important as well to put emphasis on training and education and capacity to our operators of smaller fishing vessels, and basically adherence likewise to our weather warnings, because before we mainly confined ourselves to signals that no vessels should sail, but now even in gale warning, the Coast Guard Station Commander is given the discretion to prevent vessels from sailing. So I think with climate change, we see even without signals, even without gale warnings, we could see smaller bangkas could actually be risk to our passengers. So we have to look into that. We should further clamp down on sea travel given the changing weather pattern.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight at NewsLife. That was DOTC Secretary Joseph Emilio Abaya. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert, for the opportunity.